Hey folks, welcome to the Solutioneers Podcast. I'm Rebecca and I'm excited to welcome you again to another episode. Today we have Nick, one of our videographers, not just one, but the first original videographer for FMO Media. And I'm so stoked to be able to chat with you about what you do and some of the solutions you come up with for clients when you're actually out in the field, as I like to call it, recording and creating content and helping coach clients come up with the best possible content for them. So, Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself. You want to dive right in?
Oh man, it feels good to be the OG. I mean, what can I say? That was a
You
great
are.
introduction. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. You're amazing. Tell us, how you got to FMO and sort of your career trajectory, because you didn't start in filmmaking, right? I think you had a little bit of a different kind of path that brought you there.
Yeah. So, I didn't really spend a lot of my life around cameras. Actually, I was more into like theater and acting, and I ended up going to school for acting. I got a degree in acting. But even like while I was in school doing the acting stuff, I kind of knew I was doing a lot of comedy. I had a sketch comedy group in college. I was doing a little bit of stand up, doing a lot of writing. So even like before I graduated, I kind of knew I was going to go that comedy path for a while. So after I graduated college, I actually moved to New York, um, and was had a sketch comedy group there. We were doing a lot of stuff. And then it got to the point we were doing a sketch comedy podcast where we basically like had to come up with sketches in the podcast and then we would film them. Originally, I was just going to hire somebody to film them, and I was like, you know what, like I'd be interested in doing that. Let me just kind of give it a shot. And then within like a month, I spent like 20 grand on video
Oh
equipment.
my
And was like,
gosh.
well, I better learn how to use these well and enjoy this money that I spent.
Yeah.
Um, so I just started filming a lot more and like got more into like, then I started filming like outside of the comedy stuff. I would do like things for other actor friends, and then that turned into freelancing a little bit, which was sort of what led me to FMO, because I started freelancing with FMO actually first as an editor. I was hired for one job as an editor. And then this was like when FMO had like just started. There was like 3 people, a couple clients, and they sent me the footage, and I was like, "This is fine, but you know what? I also shoot video, and I can do like way better than that. So I think you should just hire me as a videographer to come and reshoot that client, make it really special." And they were like, "Yeah, cool. Like we'll send you out there next week."
I love
And I
it.
went out and filmed the first client, and then it just sort of snowballed from there.
The rest is history, as
The
they
rest is
say.
history.
It's awesome. And you do still exercise both the video and editing components, of your skill set
I
still
do.
today too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man of many talents. What was the first piece of video equipment, or when you were dropping that 20K, what was the biggest, most expensive? Was it the camera or
Yeah. I think, what is the first camera? I think the first camera I bought was like a Nikon D810, which is also like it's shot good video, but it's like way more of a photography camera than it is a video camera. It was
yeah.
not a cheap camera. And then of course like all the lenses, like I kind of went lens crazy for a while and bought like 10 different lenses.
Sometimes the lenses can be more expensive than the body of the camera itself.
Yeah, like sometimes most of the time.
Yeah. What do you think now, moving from DSLR to iPhone? We made that leap about a year ago. What's that been like for you?
I mean, it's been cool, honestly. Like, my first thought was just like, I'm a professional. I can't shoot on an iPhone. But then, like, as like I got into it and like shooting more, it's just like you just realize the versatility. And like as a videographer, I shouldn't be like that, because I should be like willing to try every medium and try every different type of equipment, because it all. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do with every different type of camera. I mean, people are shooting movies on iPhones now. There was
Yeah.
that one like horror thriller movie that came out years ago. It was like the first ever shot on iPhone, and now like everyone's doing it, because it has all the same capabilities. People just, I think people just get a little turned off when they think of it as a phone and not a camera.
Yeah, I agree. It really is kind of amazing what you can do with the iPhone. And I have probably said, I've heard a lot of other people say, it's really about how you use the technology and who is using it, not so much the technology itself, because in your more than capable hands, it is professional, regardless, iPhones, you can shoot in 4K. A lot of DSLRs don't actually have that capability or even the ease or the mobile use. It's a lot more cumbersome. So, do you agree with that statement or find any truth to, it's how you use it, who's using it versus the actual piece of equipment?
Yeah, if I'm not using it, then it's gonna be terrible. That's my whole that's it. Sorry, guys. I'm the only one who can do it. No, yeah, for sure. Like, it's I mean, I love like, it goes both ways 'cause it's like, I think, yeah, like, obviously, like, if you know what you're doing behind a camera, like, you're gonna get way better off, but it is so nice that everyone has this quality of camera in their back pocket now, and that anybody can kinda learn and figure it out. I mean, obviously, yeah, there's, like knowing your way behind a camera and having an experience definitely helps and the stylization of it, but I love that everybody has that access.
Yeah, it's really changed the game, not just for us as a team, but our clients. And our clients are able to get a lot more self-recorded video to us because for the most part, everybody's got an iPhone. Or if they don't have an iPhone, they've got a really capable Android. For anyone listening, we're Apple fans for the most part. We have a preference, but yeah, we're able to get a lot better self-recorded video now these days. You guys, meaning production team, videographers, you're able to travel a lot more smoothly, efficiently. Just the sort of dynamic that you're able to get to, right? Because now you don't have a cumbersome amount of equipment to set up, but you can be ready on the go, quick to pivot from location, whether client wants to be outside or inside. That's kind of how I see it. Are there any sort of additional benefits that you've experienced or maybe even some challenges that you've been able to work through?
I mean, you already kind of mentioned it. Just like I hate lugging equipment around. I always have, and especially like on the road traveling, like lugging a crap ton of equipment around is a nightmare. Um, so having that like completely minimized to where I can like just travel with like a backpack has been amazing. It really has.
It's probably good for your posture too.
I have terrible posture. I have a bad back, so I'm not complaining.
I think all of us that are hunched over at the desk and computer,
Yeah,
yeah,
but it
but
also, I mean, on top of that too, though, it's just like it's so helpful for just like quick on the go, on the spot type shooting. Like there's, like even just like if we want to do like a quick interview, I don't have to sit there for 45 minutes setting up a tripod and three different angles and lighting and blah blah blah. It's just like you don't need all that. People don't realize that you don't have to have all that.
well, and I mean, the other reason for the change wasn't just convenience, ease for our team and our clients, but it was also adapting to what's necessary for social media content right now, too.
Yeah,
Because, as you're saying, you don't need to have all that. The technology has changed and evolved, but also what is necessary for social media content has changed and evolved. And what,
especially if you're not shooting like specifically ads, because I mean ads are great, but most of the stuff that you're putting on social media is not going to be an ad. And I used to shoot a lot of, I mean, when I first started doing a lot of the like vertical sort of social media stuff, I would shoot it on Sony's, I would shoot it on cinema cameras. And not that the iPhone is like lesser than, it's just there's a different look to it. I mean, it has that social media look. And I could shoot the same video on an iPhone and then shoot it on a cinema cam, and I can guarantee you that I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but I would guess that the iPhone footage is gonna get higher viewage and
yeah.
higher engagement because as soon as you use like a Sony or cinema cam, there is a specific look to those kind of cameras, and they almost feel more like ads. And for if you're not trying to film an ad, if somebody sees it and it looks like an ad, I mean, usually they just kind of skip over that.
I agree. And it's not that we want to deceive anyone with the kind of content. It's really about making it engaging. And if people feel like they're watching something salesy or commercial, or even a short ad with one person featured, I think that they're going to immediately be turned off by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You've created, and you still create, because we're still doing some of these videos, but you create a lot of great brand stories in the past. And now a lot of the needs for our clients have shifted, but we're still creating brand stories. That's still part of some of our clients' needs. Talk a little bit about what goes into a brand story and what you think makes a really awesome brand. I don't want to say commercial because we don't want to think about it like that, but it really is a storytelling. Yeah, like what captivates someone in a brand story.
Um, it's tough 'cause it always differs, obviously, like based on the client. Like you have to do your research on the client and really kind of feel it out. I mean, I always kind of I like treating my shoots like music. I'm a big music guy, so I like to treat my shoots like music videos almost, even if it's not like going in anywhere near that direction. Like that's how I like to do a lot of my like research and my preparation for a shoot, because like being a big music guy, like I feel like everything I can relate. Well, and like music and movies, because like you can piece soundtracks together for movies that kind of fit the vibe. So I sort of do it in that direction where I will like do my research on a client and just sort of feel out what I think their general vibe is, and I can kind of relate that to sort of a genre of music. And like this isn't like something that I'm like writing down and like figuring out. It's just like the way my headspace works, where I can kind of relate their general feel to a certain type of genre, a certain song, and then honestly I just kind of go from there. I know it sounds kind of weird, but
No, it sounds unique and really creative. And I think that's why you are so good at what you do, because you have a system for yourself and there's a process to it, but it still is fluid and flexible enough to allow for that creativity, and you're able to adapt to the needs of the client too. And you
yeah.
mentioned research. That's super important for anything that we're doing for a client. But what is your prep process, whether it's brand story, whether it's more that shorter form, kind of one subject, single subject, engaging type of content? What does that prep look like for you?
um Yeah, I mean, like the first thing I will immediately do is just like find whatever I can online about a client. You know, what's their social media presence, what if they have a website, anything that I can, watch videos that they have available. Um, so just sort of like the classic research that you would do, and then obviously like speaking with the client and learning more about them that way. And then beyond that, I mean, I'm I'm not a huge prepper. I'm sort of a believer in like 50% preparation and like 50% spontaneity. Like you want to be prepared enough, obviously, but when you over prepare, you you sort of psych yourself out. You get nervous, and then you're sort of unwilling to flip the script. And I'm like especially coming like from a comedy background, I don't like to be stuck in that one little hole. I want to have different directions that I can shoot out from at any given moment. Um, so I kind of leave it, the, do the research, do enough preparation, and then kind of formulate what I am envisioning in my head, and then from there just kind of let it go, let it free, baby.
I like it. That improv background definitely helps in that situation too.
Yeah, and obviously, like that's not some. There's going to be clients that are like very against like spontaneity and improvisation. So I won't force a client to do something like that, but like at least for me, that's how I kind of work.
So when it comes to prepping as a client, what's the biggest advice you would give a client, whether they want that sort of like spontaneity, improvisational element or not? What's your biggest advice? Or hey, I wish every client did this before a film shoot.
Um, I think it's still kind of the same. I mean, like, my main thing would just be like, have fun. Like, stop overthinking and have fun. Because too many people overthink these things. They're not as difficult as you think it's going to be. It's going to be a really fun. We're only talking about stuff that you already know. Um, I'm not going to like. I mean, it's very rare that I'm going to just like throw something in from left field. Like, you're going to understand it all. You're going to be have the preparation from the agenda and from our conversations. I think there's just there's too many people that overthink stuff like that. It's just like, just have fun with it. It's going to be a good time. And sort of like what I said for myself, like, don't over prepare because you're going to psych yourself out.
Yeah, I agree. And it is interesting, the over preparedness and potentially actually being harmful. Have you seen that, running into that with clients who are so over prepared? Because I've seen it. I actually had the opportunity to go to one or two film shoots in the last couple years, and I did see that happen to a client where they actually printed out their script for what they wanted to say. And because we don't bring teleprompters, that's not necessary. We could if we needed to, but it's never been a need, and it's not how we work. There is no way for us to actually legitimately hold the script up and have her read off the teleprompter. So we had to improvise with tape and having it taped down below, and coaching her to look at a line and then look up and say it to the camera. But that took probably double the amount of time. That's kind of how I think of being over prepared so much that it paralyzes you. Have you run into similar situations or different ones?
I have ran into it many times. Um, the almost always, if not always, if somebody brings in a script, we're spending like an extra hour or two on videos than we would normally need to, or just like punching out. It takes like twice as long. Almost every time I see a script, I'm like, can you just tear that up and throw it in the trash because you're not going to need it. Because we're not working with like trained actors here, these like this, and that's not the point, because we want you to speak from the heart. We want you to speak from your experience and your knowledge. We don't want it to, and because even if they memorize the script, 90% of the time it's just sounds fake. It sounds so rehearsed.
Yeah.
And for these videos, you can't sound like that. You got to be yourself, and it's almost impossible when you're trying to go from a script.
Well, you and I both have theater film backgrounds as actors, and even thinking back to that experience myself, the improv or the kind of director that lets you play with the words, it always comes out much better than if you're working with someone who is demanding you be word perfect, and maybe you're a little bit shaky on the lines. And because we're also not filming a movie, it doesn't really matter, right? You already just said it. It's about speaking to the heart and being authentic. So we want to be able to give people the opportunity to share their expertise in a way that is genuine. And there's already so much fake content out there, like scripted and influencers. And, you want to be able to rise above the oversaturation of that and
Yeah.
stand out. So yeah, I can see that, because I can see from an actor's perspective too. If you are chained to the script or to a piece of paper, then you're not really thinking about what you're saying either. You're just thinking about, I have to be word perfect because this has to be perfect, and not really allowing for the freedom and the fun, which you also just mentioned, to come through and really show who you are as a person. So yeah, I think that's a really great point.
Yeah, you're
What?
thinking about the words and not the real meaning behind them and why you wrote them down in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. It's the intent and the purpose of it. Yeah, and the purpose shouldn't be to be perfect, but we can all get into that. We can all think, oh my gosh, I want it to be perfect and polished. And I think that's where we'd probably all say, well, let post-production work on that for you. We'll have fun with the production side of it. What are some other kind of challenges that you've run into filming that you've had to come up with either quick solution, or we've been able to kind of regroup internally and say, okay, here's a way moving forward to avoid this, whatever that might be.
I have a funny, challenging story that was like kind of difficult to overcome. I was filming something. So when I was living in New York, I filmed something um, I had a model, and I was shooting on the Hudson River. Um, and there was a shot where I sort of needed my model to like stand up on the rocks, like right by the water, right by the Hudson River. As soon as like I hit record and we're rolling, we're getting the shot. A police boat comes like flying by behind her, which already like ruined the shot. But so we're still recording. The boat whizzes by and it creates like all these like massive waves, and you don't really see waves in the Hudson River that often. It's not usually something you think you have to worry about. And she's standing right on the edge of this rock, and this massive wave just like smashes the side of the rock and just completely engulfs her in the water. I mean, it was like the Little Mermaid. It was and it was really, really cold outside. So, and if you know anything about the Hudson River, you don't want to be covered in that water. So that was a challenge. I mean, we literally had to like cancel the shoot at that. We had gotten most of the shots we needed. This was towards the end, luckily, but obviously, like after that, we couldn't shoot anymore. So we had to finish off another day.
What's the takeaway from that one?
Don't film on the Hudson River ever. Just don't do it. It's not worth it.
There you have it. I'd probably extend that to environment, and like having environmental awareness. Where are you spatially, right? Because I'm trying to think like, all right, what are some other situations where that could happen, or what are some other like not unideal situations to film in?
Yeah, I mean, it's also just like expect the unexpected, because and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Again, spontaneity. A little bit of spontaneity is okay, and it's a good thing.
Did you at least get the shot of her being engulfed in the wave?
Oh yeah, so I got the shot. I was recording the whole time. I slowed it down to 20%, so like super slow mo, and sent it to her as like a little gift.
I like it.
It was beautiful. I think I threw some like Little Mermaid music on
it. And that can be a moment that you use. I don't know what it was for, but you can use that potentially for your content. And it's almost the reverse of being polished, showing that not everybody is perfect. Not every moment's perfect. I think about actually the North Face ad that's out right now, or is the gal, I'm pretty sure it was all set up like this, but gal's wearing the raincoat, and she tells them they need to make a better raincoat because it's not sufficient. She's drenched. And then they do a follow-up video where they have an employee grab a new raincoat and take it to her via helicopter on location. It's sunny at that point, so she doesn't really need it. But, the point is they're highlighting a negative, or, a sort of challenge with the product, and then how they solutioneered for this person. And it just builds that goodwill and that trust. So you can actually make the most, whether it's planned or unplanned, you can actually make the most out of those situations too, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna have to see that ad. I haven't seen that one.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you. It's really good. I was like, oh, that's clever. What are some situations where camera's rolling and you capture something that's unplanned, and then it's like, yeah, that was perfect. The serendipitous moment where, that spontaneity creeps in. You could never envision it happening, and you happen to capture it on camera.
Those are the best moments ever, and they happen a lot more than people would think, to be honest. Like, as long it's sort of, I don't know, there's like the actual quote, but there's like an old quote just about like keep the cameras rolling, because it always ends up being like some of the best content I get. I love those random moments that you're just like, yes. I mean, I get cocky and I'm just like, yeah, I'm really good. That was totally me. I was like, I'm the best videographer in the world. Just like that was totally because of me that we got that. And it's not. It's just random, but it happens a lot. I love those moments because sometimes those are literally like the best thing you'll film all day.
You probably do have to have that confidence though, right? Because it allows for a little bit of fun and humor to creep into how you're going about it, and then having the confidence to get what you need and knowing that you got what you need too, whether planned or unplanned. So I feel like that
Yeah,
plays into the job.
for sure. I mean, there's definitely some clients that probably think I'm a narcissist because I'll definitely like get a shot and I'll just be behind the camera like, God, I'm good. I'm so good. I'm amazing at this. And usually they find it funny, but I'm sure there's a few that are like,
Well, I mean, we know that you are super humble, but having that confidence really helps build confidence in the person that you're working with too, I think. Because then,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, maybe some people might take it the wrong way, but I see it as a really, fun and way to keep people engaged and keep people confident about what they're doing on the other side of the camera. And
yeah, for
I
sure.
know a lot of what you're doing is coaching too. So what are some ways that you like to help pull people out of their shell, especially if it's their first film shoot?
I mean, I try to do that before we even start filming because I'm already like a pretty outgoing person. I've got the theater background, I've got the comedy background. So like before we even hit record, I feel like I've usually warmed someone up enough to feel comfortable sitting down just through conversation, honestly. Just through like making joke. That's like always that's my social connection. It's just like being the stupid funny one. So I try to bring that and just try to really relax them before I even pick the camera up.
That's smart. Yeah. And good to point out that it is happening before the camera's rolling, because I think it could be daunting for someone going into a film shoot not knowing what to expect and thinking that, there's as soon as the camera turns on, you have to be on, but you're actually letting them be comfortable and stay comfortable throughout, which I imagine you probably would see a difference. I don't know how you feel, but I would think there's a difference between, someone being really uncomfortable and scared and anxious and feeling like as soon as that camera turns on, they have to be more than themselves, and warming them up to the point where camera turns on and it's just a natural kind of flow, and there's not really a before and after, if you know what I'm getting at, trying to say.
Yeah, I for sure, 100%. I also think like them there because there can be a difference if I was just a videographer, then I'm just a person behind a camera that they don't know, and then at that moment it's just them and the camera, and that's what makes people nervous when they're just thinking about the camera. So that's why I try to like almost create a friend in every client before we even start, so that it's not just them and the camera, it's them and me, and then the camera just disappears. It's so much easier that way because now they're not talking to that camera, they're just continuing our conversation essentially.
I like that. That's a great way to think of it too. It's a conversation, and most of the film content is talking to an audience, so they get to use you as that audience in a way, would you say?
Yeah, for sure.
What's been the, and this doesn't have to be a FMO client or project, but what's been the most epic, coolest film project you've ever shot? You're most proud of?
Mm. This actually was an FMO one. Because I mentioned I'm a big music guy, and we were filming for a security company, um, and so we filmed. It was just me, and I went out and filmed. They were covering the. Do you know what Tomorrowland is?
I don't know, not offhand.
So it's like the like main Tomorrowland is like a giant EDM festival, basically. Um, they were doing like a smaller version of Tomorrowland in the Bronx. And the security company was covering that event. So I was just there to film the security company doing their thing at Tomorrowland. Um, and then like 30 minutes into it, the main guy was just like, yeah, just like, he's like, I want to make sure we get as like much different content as possible. So he's like, just go up on stage and like film the DJ. I was like, you sure about that? He's like, yeah, we're covering the event. Like, it doesn't like everybody, there's like there's only like three other, there's like one photographer and like two videographers up there. They have like special like VIP badges. I'm just like walking in there. They're like, who is this guy? But they just like, yeah, put me up on stage. So for like a good hour or two, I was up on stage right behind the DJ. I mean, this was like a massive event too. It was like a giant warehouse. It was just like packed with people. I think the headliner was Dimitri Vegas and like Mike. Um, and yeah, so I mean, like that was just awesome being on stage with these like massive DJs and with this huge crowd and getting to film them doing their thing.
It's so
Um,
cool.
so yeah, that was one of the cooler ones I've done for sure.
Yeah, that's really awesome. We should link to that in our caption on one of these, episodes. I like that. When it comes to like a kind of video or style that you really want to work on next and maybe haven't yet, what's something that you're like dreaming of, thinking of, maybe have in the works already?
Mm, I definitely would like to do some like, I guess there's like two. I'd like to do, because I've done a lot of different stuff, but I've done like music related stuff, but I've never really shot like a true music video. So I would definitely love to do a music video. I've been trying to do like, I've been working on like a mock music video for a band that I really like. It's like a synthwave band called the Midnight. I filmed a bunch of like, I've had the footage forever, and so I've been like finally getting back to it. But it's footage that I took in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. I had three different models and brought a bunch of like really cool like tube lighting with my cinema camera, and we shot around the Lower East Side in front of different like neon signs that there's neon signs like everywhere in the Lower East Side. So we were finding different restaurants and bars and stores that all had really cool neons and like shooting different stuff in front of those that I want to edit together and create a sort of mock music video for a song by the Midnight. So that's a project that I definitely want to finish. I've also been working on a documentary for the past like 5-6 years that's still in the works about a buddy of mine who had cystic fibrosis. He unfortunately just passed away a few months ago. But we've been shooting a documentary about him and making awareness of cystic fibrosis and just like his story. He was a comedian, he was an actor. So that's something that I'm still working on. And then really other than that, like I haven't really done a whole lot in film. So that would always be a sort of, I get when I say film, I mean like movies, short films, stuff like that. I've always done. I don't know where I was going with that. I guess I wouldn't mind diving into the film world a little bit.
I like it. Well, you have many talents and abilities, and the spontaneity, that improv that you embody just in how you work with clients. I see that in your skill set too, because you are able to craft different kinds of video content, and that's not something that I think everybody has the desire, or maybe they haven't pursued that skill set, which I think is really cool. And certainly, we've been able to use that for client content and coming up with a variety, but even cooler that you have your projects and finding additional purpose through that power of storytelling. So it's really awesome. Yeah, I love it. We're super proud of you.
Hey, thanks. I'm proud of you.
Oh, hey, thanks.
Yeah, doing great.
So are you. It's always great working with you, Nick. I had the chance to work with you once. That was like one of the 2 film shoots that I had been on visiting, and I think it was my first time meeting you in person. And it was just so cool to see you work, because you really do bring out the best in people. It's, I think you joke that you have that confidence and it's there, but you don't make yourself, the center of attention. And that's a really tricky thing to balance, I think, for people. Or maybe if people were a little bit too cocky and egotistical, it wouldn't be about a balance, but for you, it's a really great balance of having that confidence and letting people shine, which is a skill set, a personality trait that, I don't think you can really teach. So, we all definitely appreciate that. And I know our clients do too. It's really cool to see just how far you've come over the last couple of years and how much you've contributed to the team, to the sort of trajectory of the content that we've produced as a whole, and super exciting to see what we've got next in store, what 2024 is going to be about. I know AI is the buzzword for everybody. Where do you think, what do you think we could do with AI, or what are you interested in testing out when it comes to AI and videography?
I want to turn into AI. That's what I want. I want AI to become so advanced that I can become
I like it.
AI.
We can clone you, They have avatars now.
We don't want more than one of me, I promise. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, the sky's the limit with AI right now. It's hard to, like, imagine where else it's gonna go because we're already seeing so much crazy stuff. Um, yeah, I guess just seeing it more integrated into equipment. Like, right now, it just feels
Mhm.
like AI is everything, like, that I'm just using, like, on a computer, but, like, I would love to see it utilized in cameras, in stabilizers and things like that.
That's a really good point. I've not heard anyone make that point, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the benefit on our computers, but I would be curious to see what might be in the works. I mean, I feel like it's got to be, but then who knows? Maybe everybody's trying to find a way of making the computer work faster and not really giving the same amount of attention to the actual physical technology. That's really fascinating.
Yeah. I would be I mean, I think it's all gonna happen. It's just but it's moving so quick. I mean, we're gonna see a lot in our lifetime that is gonna kind of blow us away that we didn't think was possible.
Yeah. Oh, just thinking back to when we were kids, and the CD was a huge sort of uh, change. And I remember having cassette tapes, and our grandparents, parents before us had record disc players, and they saw that huge shift too. So it is kind of remarkable just how far we come. And did we even imagine that we would get to this day where people can essentially clone themselves with AI and have computers do that work for them? It's pretty cool. But what they can't do is replace your human creativity and that spontaneity that makes you so awesome and do what you do, Nick. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. Yep.
One thing I was gonna say is the fact that I can still remember what my first cassette I ever had was already shows you how fast things are changing. Because I definitely remember my first CD and my first cassette.
I can't remember what the first would be for either of them, but I do remember being so excited and thinking I was so cool for having a CD holder where I could store and organize all of my
You
CDs.
were fancy.
It was amazing. Yep, and you labeled them, and then we would make the mix CDs or CD mixes for everybody, and you would write and label like, yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, I had a few special admirers make me some CDs. They were good. They were good CDs.
Yeah, yeah, the best. I probably still have some back in a box somewhere, but
I wish I knew where my CDs were because I had like one of those massive books too that I always kept in my car. Um, and I had the greatest CD collection ever, and I have no idea where they
oh my gosh, I think you gotta go find that.
are. I do. I was like an emo kid too, so there's a lot of weird emo CDs in there.
I think I probably still am an eclectic mix. So, I had some Bach, but then I had Enya, but then I had, some Sugar Hill Gang, and just crazy all over the place.
Yeah, you gotta keep it mixed up. Listen to
Yeah,
everything.
for sure. Well, now I'm gonna go find. I think I need to go find my old CDs. I'll let you go find yours, but
Yeah, make me a mixtape.
yeah, for sure. We'll
You'll
trade.
have to download what was it, LimeWire.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Now we're just sounding old.
Now we are old. Well, thank you all for listening in. We promise that we've got the energy for film shoots and all the like. But Nick, it's always a pleasure chatting with you and getting to hear your stories. I hope that all of our clients appreciate the joy and the fun and all that experience that you bring whenever you come to their film shoots. I know I do. So hopefully you'll get the chance to meet up with Nick or any one of our fabulous videographers. But until then, we'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you, Nick, so much for being a part of the episode.
Of
And
course. Thank
everybody,
you for having me.
of course, and we'll catch everybody else on the next episode. Thank you, guys.